Oh, you're talking about the streetlight conversion stuff, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's probably not on LCTV.
Oh, is that like a department head and
Yeah,
committee
that was
meeting?
on Bristol, Newcastle,
Yeah,
all those
Yeah.
ones.
yeah. I've got all, the printed minutes, the proposals, but that's all I can find.
I'm not even sure if those ones were recorded.
I was gonna say, were they recorded, Matt? Matt's gone. I don't know if they were recorded or not. When Matt
Evidently
comes back,
not.
we can ask him.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move along to financial reports. Payroll warrant number 64.
I make a motion, we accept payroll warrant number 64.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Raise your hands. Make it easy for Linda to work. Okay, accounts payable warrant number 65.
I make a motion, we accept payroll warrant, accounts payable warrant 65.
Okay, I'll second. Any discussion?
Now, which one was this one? Was this the Bristol Road project one or
No.
the?
No, this is the big one.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, Josh, are you?
I already put my hand up.
Oh, okay, I didn't see you. That's okay. All right, opposed? None?
Hey, Rob, sorry.
All right, passes. Yes, sir, Matt.
Robin, I was sorry. I got a late turning on the recorder and I was battling DVD when you asked me. Lou's question on the meetings that we've had with the street lighting LED.
Yeah.
Those have been with the other town managers and county administrator and other selectmen. Those I have not recorded.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I can give you an update on that. I have that
No,
on
I've got all the paperwork that came out on it and the proposal that came out. So I'm fine right now.
Okay.
Okay. And accounts payable warrant number 66, which is the Bristol Sidewalk warrant.
I make a motion, we accept the proposal.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I guess this meets all the criteria for the reimbursement, right, Matt? This bill for the 315,000.
Yes. So we have a $1,200 reimbursement that's going to come back to us. That's not included in this. I talked with the project planner at the state MDOT today, and he said we can make that adjustment later. I didn't want to hold up on a $314,000 payment just for a $1,200 credit.
Right.
So
I agree.
everyone's in a, we've got the sign-offs from everybody,
Yeah.
and it's definitely okay to go ahead and approve this amount.
Okay.
Okay, any other
I'm
questions?
good.
All in favor?
I abstain.
Okay, thank you. Okay, review of the financial audit from R.H.R. Smith. Did everybody have a chance to look at the audit?
Yes.
There was one change that was made
Karen.
today, and we'll be able to, the audit will be able to explain that to you. It's a change for the positive because it will reduce slightly the amount that we need to have in tax commitment for the mill rate. So I think we have a couple people on the audit, right? I think we have a couple.
I see Karen's on,
Yeah, Ron just got on as well.
and there's Ron. Hey,
Hi,
Ron.
folks.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go ahead and turn it over to y'all to talk about your report for us.
So a couple of things, bear with me. I'm technology challenged. I literally had to pull my car over in Farmington, Maine and stop in at a dear friend of mine and kick him out of his office because I knew I wasn't making it back for the Zoom meeting. So hopefully the internet holds up here.
Okay.
So a couple of things. How about I don't know what you all have in front of me, but how about I hit the highlights, of the, 40 something page document that we have here. Would that be good?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want me to hit by page or do you want me to just hit the highlights? What would you like? So
Highlight.
Highlights.
Well, what I had suggested to Karen and Kathy earlier is just if you could, I think it was page 7 through 11, if you just want to give the summary and then open it up for questions on the detail. And then if you would also explain that $59,000 education related change.
sure. So let's go from there. One, the pages that Matt references were clearly the summary pages of the highlights that I'll go over right now. And what it's going to say is you were well within budget. It's going to say that your property tax collection rate was down, but nothing to the point where I would say it was significant, for you all to be worried there, for sure. And that your financial condition at the end of the year was about $1,121,000, which is exactly where you thought it was. Excuse me, $1,121,000. Let me get into the document here. Hold on 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. So I don't think you guys can see what I'm looking at, correct?
Correct.
So the financial condition, so you guys had about $1,223,000. I'm going to spend it for you here, to get down to the conversation on those summary pages. You guys had $1,223,000, of carryover balance at the end of the year,
Hold on, Ron.
which is less than
Hey,
where.
Ron,
Yep.
Ron, just a sec. I think Robin's going to say if you could press screen share, we could see what you're looking at.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why I came on.
Hold on, folks. Give me a novice here. Screen share. Here it comes. So share. Talk to me, folks. Can you see it?
There you go.
Hey,
Yes, sellable. US.
All right. Hold on.
Country is
folks.
sellable.
Hold on. So this right here is page 15 where I was at. I'm trying to get down to that $1,000,000. So we start at $1,223,000. I'm going to not go too fast here, but I'm going to jump between two pages, one that Matt just referenced in this page, which I really think is going to tell the whole story for Damascotta, okay? And the
Okay.
one that I'm particularly interested in right now is your general fund. So I'm on page 15. Does everybody see what their carry balance is of $1,223,000? Everybody see where I'm getting that number right there?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to back up a little bit to tell you the story on June 30, 19th. I'm going to back up 1 year and just bear with me. And I'm going to go to one of those pages that Matt cited, and here it comes. So that $1,120,000, the $1 million that I talked about is buried in that 2019 column right there, of major funds in your general fund, which is the one I'm going to talk about. And in particular, I'm going to spend that $1 million for you right now. You had about $955,000 come June 30, 2019 that wasn't attached or spent, or obligated towards anything, and that's what we would truly call your unassigned or your undesignated surplus. Everybody see where that number is? I'm getting it from the 955. It's like the fourth number down on the top of that page.
Yep.
Last year, that number was $1,122,000. So one would say it dropped, by it dropped by $170,000. Ron, are you concerned? No, because in 2019, you guys used $150,000 for tax relief. I actually believe you used the same thing again in 2020, $150,000 for tax relief. So that's exactly you all, where you expected, it to be, at the end of the day. And that 150 is actually up in the assigned, the 195, and you've actually got some other, projects, some dedicated projects that happened after July 1st that you were going to use. The 150 was for tax relief, and I'm going to bring you down to another page, and I'm trying not to make your eyes spin, so I'll go slowly. And now I'm going to give you the breakdown of all your other money in addition to that 955 and get to the 59,000 that Matt was talking about. And I'm specifically going to end up right, just bear with me, folks. I'm trying to slow down so I don't make your eyes spin. I'm going to end up on page 37, and I'm going to end up, on page 38. And there's the 59,000 that Mike's talking about that we restricted out of your carryover balance. It's not part of that unassigned of 955. It's separate. I'm going to tell you what that is. And then you've got some other monies that are set aside for some special, functions and set asides and wishes of the town. A 65 that's going to be broken out right here. There's all the rest, of your carry forwards, for at June 30, 19 that came in that you had a plan spend down for as well, plus the 150 that you used for 2020 budget relief. So to simply say that you're where you expected to do, you actually did use $150,000 of your surplus, to mitigate for tax relief. The balance went down. It didn't go down any more than you thought. The expectation is you're going to use another 150. You still got $955,000, left at your disposal. Where do we want to see you based upon, and I'm not, again, trying to keep your eyes safe, based upon your operating general fund budget. And now I'm going to go a little slower. And 19 of about 4,844,000. I'm at your total expenditures of your general fund, which also includes the appropriation into the school system for the education fund for the elementary school and the school system that you're in right there. It's Great Salt Bay. You've got a $5 million budget. Where we like to see your surplus is 30, 60 to 90 days of that budget. So where does that put you? For Damascotta terms, somewhere around 400,000 at 30 days, somewhere around 800,000 for 60, and somewhere around 1.2. At 955, where are you? You're at 70 days, right where you want to be, and you've got some other money, for education purposes carried forward in the next column, in addition to that, of about $858,000. And I think that that's in great financial shape. And I think that that's exactly where you're expected to be. And I would call you above average financially. And we do, that's all we do is the world of government in Maine. I would say that you are right a little bit above average financial condition at the town of Damascotta compared to another town similar of your size on the ocean front for sure. So there's the good news. Back in 2016, to answer one of the highlights that Matt had talked about, what I understand is the town over-assessed its education to the tune of about $59,000. I understand that your past auditor had a conversation with you. I also understand it doesn't look like that math has been used in any future budget for any tax relief for there, which is what we would recommend too. We understand and had conversations with your auditor that was a recommendation to pass. It just hasn't been done. So if you guys, I'll bring back 2 more pages. What we've done is we've actually, if you guys look at the committed number there on page 15, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th number up from the bottom. We've restricted $59,000, and our advice is, as I understand your other auditor's advice is, in your 2021 budget, you would want to, or a future budget, you would want to reduce, your budget by $59,000 because of that assessing error back in 2016. As far as the rest of the highlights, you guys got about $1 million set aside in capital reserve. You've got about, I think, $720,000 in fiduciary funds. I think predominantly that's made up of Philbrook, and the, and your cemeteries. I think that's over 650 of it. I think the town of Damascotta is in great financial shape, and especially in this day and age and running a school district, to be having this conversation, clearly I think is, is positive news, for Damascotta for sure. So. That's about the highlights. If you guys got some specific, I just want to talk about a couple other things, but if you guys got any specific questions regarding the financial condition of the town, where you at, where you ended the year, anything that I just talked about right now, I think you're in good shape. I think that there's another conversation I'd like to have with you, like this was pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, because we're hearing a lot of ugly, out there, and a lot of stuff that you guys aren't going to be, quite frankly, able to deal with, until after your fiscal year, I'm confident it's going to be over. I don't know where you're at in your budget process, but this is going to be one of the ones you guys are really going to have to be patient with, I'm sure, because anybody that tells you that what's going on at the state of Maine or the federal government and how it's going to impact our state and local government, let me just tell you, I am not hearing any answers out there, to the challenges that this state is being faced with. And we do 3 states, for municipalities, all in New England, Maine, Vermont, and Massachusetts. There are some huge questions that need to be answered as you guys are going forth setting your budget. And whatever you can use us for a sounding board, right now, I think a lot of these questions aren't going to be answered to post July 1. And I don't know how that impacts your town meeting in Damariscotta, but I think this is going to be one of those ones, where you're going to have to sit and wait and be patient to really see what the financial picture, is going to look like. And I'm really not sure anybody's going to know that until probably, and I still don't think it'll be clear, but I'm thinking July or August when it starts to have a resemblance of clarity. So. And anybody have any financial questions before? Did I just talk about some of the other highlights?
I'm good.
Oh, I'm fine.
So a couple of things. One, I'll certainly raise my hand, and apologize for the delay. This was our first year back in Damariscotta. Let me also tell you this with Cheryl. We spent a lot of time sitting with Cheryl, and I don't know if that was typical past practice with your other auditor, but there was an education process with Trio, helping out with cash reconciliations, really helping Cheryl, kind of understanding the X and O's with Trio. And when we did that in the fall, we actually gave, and we did not charge the town of Damariscotta for well over a week of assistance to help Cheryl. And is Cheryl on the phone call?
Yes.
I am.
So Cheryl, you can certainly, speak to that. But point being is, this is a good product. We actually caught, the math from the assessing error in 16, work with Cheryl to reconcile it. Here's what we're sure of. We're sure 2019 is going to go smoother because of the work that we've done and the work that we continue, to do with Cheryl. But the problem is, after we got done reconciling, you guys got caught in a glut of about 100 other audits, that we had going on. And I apologize. I don't expect that to happen in 2020, but I actually am confident of the service that we provided you, the conversations that we were having with Cheryl, and certainly the daily conversations. The expectation was, with the getting caught and actually producing the financial statements and getting to this level of conversation, you got caught in a glut of financials that I don't see happening next year. And I can let Cheryl certainly, attest to that with the math and the process itself. So.
It was a big adjustment this year going with a new auditor, because auditors do their things 2 different ways. So what I've learned from Vernice, when Vernice was our auditor, I was retrained when we went to Brewer. And so now we're being retrained to work with this auditor. Trio, I'm very comfortable with. We did have to get some help with our checking account. I think the delay in that was responding back and forth. We had emailed a couple times. We weren't getting responses. I think once we got all our information to Catherine, it took about a week or 2 going back and forth to get us all situated. But I think there were definitely some bumps in the first year. Just getting to know each other, getting to know each other's work routine, how to communicate, how to just work together.
Okay.
Well, thank you both.
Any other questions?
You say you want to talk more about some of the highlights?
No, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about the delay, and certainly
okay.
answer that question, you guys. But I think as far as the financial highlights and some of the recommendations and adjustments, post Vernice, as Cheryl said, and other auditors, we all have our way. But I would hope that Cheryl, would raise her hand and say, this was a good process. This was a thorough process. Whatever the bumps are, at the end of the day, here we are, and this is a good product to the point where we're able to go back and clean some things up, for sure.
And I do agree with that 100%, Ron. Initially, it was very rocky, and I mentioned it to Matt, and I mentioned it to one of our selectmen, that once we got our flow together, we started working out really well, and everything started going really well, and the audits, wow.
And the flow really, as I said, you guys, was getting back there and helping Cheryl. It got caught in a rut, and again, I think that now that that's out of the way, now we're in our routine, I expect no problems. And you guys can run me up the flagpole in Damascotta if there is in 2020, for sure. So.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think, it's difficult, I think, for us, unless we do print the document out, to sit down and really study it. So hopefully that when we each have a chance to go through it, with our own little red pens, if we have questions, we'll be able to get in touch with you through.
Robin, absolutely. And what we do is we don't take 40, 50 pages. We actually shrink it down, and we'll give Cheryl, and Matt, like a 7 or 8 page condensed version of this conversation, so that you can put it in your annual report and save some printing and time. And we've got that down now that this product's finalized. We'll send that to you for your inclusion in your annual report, and it'll hit the highlights that we just talked about. So.
Now, I printed it out and reviewed it, but, not in great detail, but I have been going through it. So I appreciate all the work you've done.
Whatever you all have for questions, just go through Cheryl. We'll look forward to responding for sure. So.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have questions?
No.
How many of you on the board would like a bound copy of the audit?
I do not need a bound copy. I reviewed it.
Did mine.
I was pleased with the product.
Yeah. Used
Yeah,
a lot of
I printed mine
paper.
out, so I don't need a back.
Okay.
Good. So, yeah, I don't like to read things on the computer, so I had to print it out.
Josh wants a nice leather-bound copy.
We
Yeah.
can arrange it if you guys want it, for sure.
I was pleased that you did not find any other areas that we were deficient in as far as the internal controls, et cetera.
Yeah, I really think it was just nothing more than reacclimation, sitting down and just going through the process again. And like I say, the expectation is that expectation won't be there in 2020 now that we're there. And we were very happy too. And to be able to, to pick up the 59,000 just goes to show you that the process worked. And if that was it, I think that's kudos, to Cheryl for sure. So.
I can sympathize with your problems.
Yeah. Let me take you on the show for the next 7 conversations I've had, because they're not going to be so good. I can tell you that right now. So.
But, Dave, I'd love to pick your brain about what you think is going to happen at the state level and the next legislature with all
I can tell you there's some powerful conversations coming on, especially in the world of education right now, and they don't even know is what I would say, for sure about that. But really, Robin, these are difficult. Forget about unprecedented. These are difficult times for the world of government and local government.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think you're going to see money delivered to you like you've never seen it before in the past. And you're going to have neighbors and the federal government through the state of Maine giving you money, quite frankly, to try to mitigate the bleeding, actually hemorrhaging, for some municipalities that's going on. And those are the conversations that we're having, right now, really at the end of the day. And there's some powerful conversations, right now, the delay in the excise tax collections, how that's going to be treated, at the state, to try to sympathize with the people that own the cars and that register them. I could go on and on, you guys, and I really think a lot of these details aren't going to get worked out till post July 1. So I'm confident of it.
So you don't think that the state is going to try to claw back money through the homestead exemptions or revenue sharing or anything?
I think that that will depend, Robin, on what the federal government provides for tax relief and mitigation for local tax relief, because clearly you all are good. We haven't had a community right now, Robin, that isn't holding their hands out for some kind of relief, and the fact that they're spending money and using other money right now for cash flow. There's even banks in the state right now, Robin, that are capping the additional TANs and RANs, for governments at $1 million because there's a run on these banks, and many of these banks, just can't anticipate, in addition, to the cash flow needs of these government because of these difficult times. So I could go on and on, about the different areas, but I think that you're going to have post July 1, Robin, information delivered to you that you'll be able to make better business decisions on. Why? Because that's when it'll be delivered to the state. So.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And it is good that we do have such a nice rainy day fund, so to speak.
Yeah,
To
you're
help.
going to need it, and every other municipality is going to need it. But I'm going to tell you, you'll find out how fast on an oceanfront community with an education, you're going to find out how fast it is to go through $1 million for sure. A lot of people are already doing those projections, and $1 million doesn't get you today what $1 million got you 10 years ago, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I think you're in a good position to weather this maelstrom, that exists out there, for sure. The question is how long is it going to take for the relief to get to the locals? And I think that a lot of that is the details that are being, I'm sure the details are being worked on right now, and it goes back to the last time that this happened was back in 2008 with the stimulus package and the ERA funds. Look how that worked. Look how precedent that was. This is probably 100 times the magnitude of that, and it's not over yet. So I think just using that for kind of the blueprint will tell you, because a lot of money came to the world of government in different ways back in 2008. It's going to be the same way now, you guys, and I think a lot of that isn't going to become clear until after the end of your fiscal year. So,
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's encouraging. Any other questions, comments? Okay, as each of you have a chance to really dig into this, if you have questions, you could send them to Cheryl and Matt, and they'll make sure they're answered.
Listen, you all be safe.
You too. Drive safely.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Typically, the board will accept the audit, and I guess I would ask you to do that tonight, and maybe with the proviso that if you have any follow-up questions, we can certainly get answers for you.
I make a motion, we accept the auditor's report.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you so much. Citizens' comments, general correspondence. Anything for us, Matt?
I don't have any general correspondence. Haas is your only citizen here tonight.
You want me to make a comment?
Sure.
You guys all look beautiful.
Only if you have one.
It's good to see you all in your native habitat.
So that's all we have under.
Thank you.
All right, town manager items.
Okay, well, this is the audit, and Ron's final comments were a good lead into this. I've got a number of items related to COVID-19. First of all, I think you all saw the governor's new stay safer at home order. And I watch the national news every night, and I see how Maine is one of the states loosening up on its emergency declaration, but at least from one Maine resident standpoint, I'm not seeing that. It seems like it's still pretty tight restriction on staying home and keeping a lot of businesses closed. Who knows whether that's the right decision or not. I do appreciate the governor's conservative approach to it. But as far as what it does for the town of Damascotta and our town offices. We've not missed a beat with regard to police, forest fire, public works, code enforcement, assessing, and planning. We've had scaled back office hours here at Town Hall, but Cheryl, Heather, and Becky continue to work at home when they're not here. Cheryl has been set up with a computer system at home. We took those dollars out of our administration budget. I think it was about $750, right, Cheryl, to get you set up at home?
Yeah, oh, done with everything, set up and the computer.
And the service to do that.
Yep.
So Cheryl's able to do all the trio work and all her other treasurer responsibilities when she's not here at the office. And of course, when she's here at the office, she's doing those plus helping answer the phones. So you probably haven't been hearing from me as much as you usually do, but we all are keeping very busy. And as far as a reopening plan is concerned, I thought it'd be good to share with you the details and the complexity involved in a reopening plan. But and Cheryl and Becky and Heather put that together. Well, they finalized yesterday. We've been working on it for a while. But I would just say that I would like to keep Town Hall closed to the public except for appointments until June 1st. That is consistent with what we're seeing most other town and city halls doing. And I think it's well within the spirit of the governor's order and really what needs to be done right now. As I mentioned to you earlier in an email message, I think that most town services, or what people look to for town services, can be done by telephone, by email, and by mail, so snail mail. So there are exceptions to that, and to be honest, we've made some exceptions. I know I have met people at the door and taken permits from them. I know Cheryl and Becky and Heather have done the same thing. We try to keep our distance, but we've been able to accommodate just about everybody, I'd say. But as far as going forward, what I'd like to do is continue to keep the offices closed to the public, but as soon as we get the safety measures in place, and I'll describe those in a minute, I'd like us to start offering by appointment only visits with people. And Cheryl pointed out earlier that will help with with a backlog, any backlog that may be out there of people who want to come in come June 1st. So, and just as far as the safety measures go, we have told Coastal Glass to come in and install a plexiglass for us. That's going to cost us about $1,000. I think it was $1,024. They'll be able to do that midweek next week. We're going through a joint purchase with the town of Windsor to order a number of one-time use face masks that we'll be asking people to use when they come into the building. And we'll mark out, when we do open up after June 1st, we'll mark out the 6-foot separation for social distancing. And there's a long list of other issues that Cheryl's mentioned, everything from the pens that we allow people to use to cleaning down, disinfecting the counters and the door handles as soon as people leave, between visits, obviously. So that's the plan. Am I leaving any major highlights out, Cheryl?
No, we just want to be able, as soon as we get the plexiglass, we want to be able to take customers in, because right now we're meeting them at the door. They'll call us, tell us what they want. We'll register a boat. They'll come and put their payment in the lockbox. call us, tell us that, hey, my payment's in the lockbox. I run out, get the payment, bring it into the office, ring it up, then bring their stuff and tape it to the front window and give them a big wave to know that now they can approach the building and get it. A lot of them are wearing masks. I don't know if we're going to make people wear masks or leave it optional or how anybody feels about that, but it's going to be different. And we're all ready to do whatever we can just to get back to work and get people coming into the office.
I think if they
We're
follow
ready to
the
come back.
guidelines is all they need to do. You know, I don't think we need to have special guidelines that, you know, you say you're going to supply single-use masks. Well, the state says everybody's supposed to wear a mask if they can't socially distance, so they all ought to have masks anyway, unless there's a reason that they don't. Well, if there's a reason they don't, they aren't going to take our single-use mask anyway. So,
And just with that, Robin, the other day I had to go to Shaw's and I left my mask here at the house. And I would have been very grateful if they had just a mask I could have worn because I had to come all the way back to Jefferson to get a mask to go back to the grocery store.
yeah.
Maybe just a small pile of them, just in case I wasn't planning on stopping here and as I was going by.
Okay, all right.
Lou had a question.
I think we should enforce the use of the mask. People are getting very lax about it. We went to Round Top to get an ice cream the other day, and 95% of the customers going up to the window were not wearing masks.
Mask.
I think we ought to have a sign, no mask, no service.
Except that if there's a reason they don't have a mask, you can't ask them because of HIPAA requirements. And there, I think in the governor's order, she had 2 or 3 different reasons, and there are others that people don't wear a mask. And if we're a government agency, we can't refuse service for somebody that has asthma or COPD or something and can't wear a mask.
And I think the plexiglass will help with that. We're going to have plexiglass. So the customer's going to be on one side. We're only going to allow maybe 2 customers to each count in at a time.
Yeah.
I think that'll help because a lot of people are against the mask and we can't really be pro one way and anti the other. We just kind of got to walk a fine line.
Yeah.
And do the best we can to protect people.
You can't ask them if they have a medical reason not to wear one. So you know.
But I'm concerned about the safety of our staff.
Yeah, me too. But we're not like a restaurant, no shirts, no shoes, no service. We're a government agency. So we have ADA requirements and things like that. We're different than a private business. We have to permit, our taxpayers and what have you to come and conduct business.
May I say something?
Sure.
All those points are valid. I think the important thing is that all the representatives of the town always wear masks. That you set an example by who you are being in the transaction.
Right.
That's one thing that for me is missing at the national level in terms of some of the leadership. I am very concerned about this next month because of the way the numbers work and the way pandemics have played out and all sorts of ones in the past. I'm very concerned that Maine could even double or triple this month what happened this past month. If that starts to happen, then we're in it. And so I think we need to set an example, and the best way is by everyone in this office wearing masks. And I'll put myself back on mute.
Okay. Thank you, Haas. Yeah, I wear mine. I even went to Yellowfront, Main Street Grocery, and got one that has chili peppers on it, which I thought was kind of cute. So I don't like those disposable things. But Matt, I have a question for you. You sent this around, which was, I guess, a draft, things to consider, and there were a bunch of questions with a bunch of possibilities. Does that look familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I sent yesterday to him. Should be like 30 items on it.
Yeah.
But I think I sent it in draft form. I thought I sent the final. I'm sorry.
Okay, because I was going to say, I had a lot of questions and comments and everything. So do I just do some track changes and get back to somebody?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Those written comments are yours.
Yeah, the handwritten comments are mine.
Okay.
But the first line says things to consider in order to open.
Yeah, that's
So,
sent that out earlier. Yeah.
okay, if I have questions or something, or can I just call somebody, or how do you want me to handle that? I don't want to go.
You can call me if you want, or if you want the questions on the record, mark up that, and then I can send it out to everybody, and then everybody's seen the questions, or you can ask them right now.
Oh, no, they'll take
Oh,
too
there's a lot.
long. No. But I do have one question that's not addressed, and is, can we start Board of Selectmen's meetings back at town office in June?
Yeah.
You know, because they're expanding from 10 gatherings of 10 to gatherings of 20 or 50 or something like
50.
that. If we still do,
50.
you know, wear our masks and all that other kind of stuff, can we start meeting back at town office in June?
Your first meeting in June is June 1st.
Okay.
Now, with that though.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm June 3rd. Yeah, June 3rd.
Do we have to measure the area that you guys are going to be in, and then so many people are allowed in certain square footage? And
Right.
I don't know that answer, but we can find out. I just don't know if anybody else has heard. Like,
Well, since we don't have a huge attendance at our selectmen's meetings, I don't think it'll be a problem.
no,
Um,
I'm going to stick my nose in here again and say, certainly you should plan for that, Robin. But I would see what's happening around May 18th or 20th in terms
sure.
of what the first half of the month has been.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we get an upsurge because of people relaxing,
yeah,
then we're going to have a different story, June 1st.
yeah.
I
So,
agree.
just, you know, if we're opening up town office, part of town office is us being back, you know, live. So, but okay, if we could kind of consider that, that would be nice.
I think tentatively we'll plan on having the offices open for meetings on June 3rd. I know we've got a public hearing for the planning board scheduled for June 1st, and at least my thought was we have that here.
Okay, all right. And as Haas says, we'll just see how it goes. And it could be that the governor will come up with something between now and then. I saw on the news this afternoon that an advisory council has been put together, and they're thinking of opening or changing the phasing or whatever of counties and areas opening up. So certain, like New York is doing, that upstate New York is going to open quicker than Manhattan is going to open. And so she has a group looking at that, and rather quickly, that she might have word about that in mid-May, although I feel like it's mid-May now. But, you know, we always have to wait and see what the governor says. So,
Right.
okay, all right.
So the next item, the 3 I's, was election day changes. First of all, we want to close administrative offices that day. We've done that in the past. However, it's even more important now because there are a strict set of guidelines about how many people we can have in the meeting, entrances and exits, that sort of thing. Our interpretation of those rules from the Secretary of State is that we're going to have, as it applies to Damascotta, is that we're going to have one entrance and one exit, and we're going to need to use the entire building to do that. To keep the social distancing, to keep the voting booths apart, and that sort of. And Cheryl can give you more information on that. I guess the only thing I'd add before she speaks is that the response to absentee ballots has been great. We don't even have the absentee ballots yet. We won't for a while, and we've already had 50 applications for them. So that's a positive. Cheryl, what else with regard to Election Day? Anything else?
with regards to election, we have
Well,
to
we're gonna
rearrange the entire way we do it. What's
I'm
that?
sorry, I was talking while you were talking. Yeah, go ahead.
So people are going to have to enter our building over by where you guys do, by Becky's desk. They're going to have to enter our building that way, come through mine and Matt's hallway, then go into the meeting room directly across from mine and Matt's hallway door. And then when you walk in, you'll have to take a left to the voting table. There'll be 2 booths, one on each corner of the room. The election ballot, where you deposit the ballot or the ballot box, that's going to be where the old table used to be, where you would check in. And then people will leave by the bathroom. We have to leave it so that it's handicap accessible, so we can't really use the front door and not say, hey, and single out people who can't use the front door.
Yeah.
So people are going to be hovering and standing in line in our main office area, which, it's the only way we can keep everybody separate.
Should we put
We're
on,
having a hard time getting people who want to work ballot. People are not sure they even want to work the election, which is where you may end up having Becky and myself and Heather have to man the tables.
should we promote absentee ballots,
Oh,
on
yes.
Facebook and everything else, and, encourage people, and that way there's going to be less of a problem at town hall?
Yep, we're gonna start putting like pretty much every other day
Okay.
notices out on Facebook. This is the way, just to let people know, it's gonna be a lot longer of a wait for people to be there. Because now
Yeah.
you can let 2 people in versus 8 people, 10 people in a booth, so. Promote absentees.
I got a question for you. What about the possibility of using the gym in the school?
We're not sure if we're gonna be able to do that because you have a certain amount of time that you have to notify the Secretary of State before you have an election of a change of a polling place. And I'm not 100% sure what those deadlines are, but I know they were sometime in May, and I thought we had just passed them, either the end of April or the beginning of May. But I can double check with Becky on that.
It'd be a lot more room for you, that's all.
Yeah. Yep, and
The
you guys, I know we've got the school for open town meeting the following day,
Right.
but would we be able to use that where you guys are closed during the summertime? Would it just be open and then we'd have access to a copier and all of that?
Yeah, we can make it work. I just think it's for safety. In
Yeah.
this situation, it'll be a lot better.
Yep, we'd be able to fit a lot more people in the booths at one time. It'll just be a matter of staffing it.
Cheryl and I had talked about this last week or the week before. The time's all kind of blending together, but I think one of the concerns we had was the access to all our files, to the copy machine. With the last election where the response was much more than anybody expected, we were on the phone with Secretary of State's office. We were trying to help out some of the neighboring towns. We were making copies, and it was nice having it here, even though, we had a big crowd. That was the March election, the primary. So there are conveniences that we'd give up even if we were able to move.
Are we expecting a big crowd for our secret ballot election?
I believe so.
You do?
Yeah, our absentee ballots are up even just for a regular election. So I expect there to be quite a few people coming out.
And it's the election. Our election is being held. Not that we're really unpopular and not desirable as far as election goes, but it's going to be held at the same time as the state primaries. So you have
right. That's right.
all the
Yeah.
people coming out to vote for their party choice for
Representatives, senators, everything.
So,
That's right.
I think
the caucus we just had, we were super busy.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a special referendum. I don't know what the topic is, but I think there's a special referendum that day too.
So let's really push absentee ballot voting.
And then we'll look into changing the venue, see if that's an option.
Okay.
We'll have to amend the warrant that I'm asking you to approve tonight, but we can do that. I think we can, right, Cheryl? If the warrant's approved tonight, I think it can be amended. The warrant has the location.
Yeah, 7 days. Yep, we can amend it 7 days before the town meeting.
All right. So I think that was it as far as the election changes were concerned.
Okay.
Now the last one I listed was the town budget changes. I think Ron was correct when he said that we don't know, and a lot's going to depend on what the state is able to do, what the federal government is able to do in terms of assistance, and how the pandemic goes. I did listen and watch the presentation that MMA put on. I know Robin and Daryl, and maybe Cheryl saw that live, but I thought they had some excellent points. They have both of those communities have more complex issues than we do. And it's one case where it's nice that our budget's so straightforward. At this point, I guess just some of the preliminary recommendations I have. I've talked to a couple of you about this. I'm thinking that we go forth with the budget as planned. You know, something might change in May. We might get more information, or we'll need to revise the budget that's in the warrant. But absent that, I'm thinking we go ahead with the current warrant budget as was approved by the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee. I am concerned about revenue sharing in particular. We have traditionally conservatively budgeted. That's reflected in the audit. We overestimate expenditures and we underestimate revenues. And I went back to make sure that was the case with the past budgets, and that was the case definitely with excise tax and the revenue sharing. We've typically been 10 to 20% under what we actually end up getting in the end. So I think we've done that again this time, where we conservatively budgeted. We're going to get it. We could potentially get a double whammy with regard to revenue sharing. We're going to, you know, our revenue sharing, like all other communities in the state, is based on the set percentage at the state level. That was at 3%, or is it at 3% for 2020? It'll go up to 3.75% in 2021, and then it's supposed to go up to 5% in the following year, in 2022. First of all, state revenues are not going to be what they had planned. So we're going to automatically see a reduction based on that. And then the state legislature could, again, try to raid the revenue sharing account and reduce our percentage share, municipal percentage share, back down to 3%, perhaps. Who knows? So we could potentially get a double whammy on that. You know, the projections in March for revenue sharing for 2021 were 161,000. I'm sorry, I wrote it down, but they're about, they were considerably higher than what we had put in our proposed budget. But again, I mean, we didn't know in March the impact that this virus was going to have. We didn't know in February, obviously, and we still didn't have a handle on it in early March when we did the budget. So it's all up in the air. That said, I'm suggesting we go forward. We have the departments, including our own, tighten belts wherever they can. And the other thing, I don't want to drone on for too long, but we don't have a lot of flexibility in our budget. We have mandated responsibilities. I listed earlier the mandatory expenses that we have, which are well over a quarter of our budget. Insurance, winter maintenance contract, the hydrants, assessing, solid waste, street lights, ambulance, debt service, general assistance, you know, nearly zero flexibility in those areas. But then if you look at what our staff do, the front office staff here, it's charter mandated and state mandated functions that we provide. So if we were to cut staffing here, who would do it? We've reduced staff over the years, the last 8 years. We eliminated a position here at Town Hall, and we had a position in the police department that had been grant funded and it was on the books, and we eliminated that, you know, in the last 8 years. So I guess the bottom line there, at least from my perspective, is we're not flush with staff, and any staff cuts are gonna hurt big time and decrease our ability to do what we're mandated to do. So with those comments, I guess I'd ask you what you would like to do for next steps in terms of budget.
I guess, you know, I'm still concerned. Everybody knows I did send an email around a while ago. I don't have it in front of me because I have been concerned. And I guess I got more concerned after I watched the MMA presentation, not only because of the revenue sharing, but the excise tax, the possibility that they could claw back some of the homestead exemption tax, the possibility that the state could go in and not fund the schools to the level that they're funding them now, which means that the shortfall would fall onto the town's budgets. And when I saw the two presenters, and truly, yeah, I recognize they're bigger towns. It was Biddeford and Brunswick. But the problems are the same. You know, they have a bigger population, they have bigger budgets, but they're faced with the same issues we are, whether it's revenue sharing or excise tax or whatever. And when they were saying that they were looking at cutting their budgets 12 to 18% because of the uncertainty that they have. And one of the things that I thought about was the possibility, I know that our budget is, the municipal budget is a tiny portion of our property taxes, because you do have the schools and you do have the county budgets. And one of the things that I thought that could happen is that all of the towns get together and ask the county to rethink its budget. So maybe it could cut part of its budget share to help each of the towns within the county. I don't know how flush their budget is either. I wasn't on the budget committee this year, so I don't know. But I think that we're all in this together. I don't know how late we can change budgets. I don't know how at this point how that would work, because we already have the town warrant going out. And if we go to the town meeting and all of a sudden the people in the town at the meeting say, we're property tax and we've been unemployed and we haven't been able to do this or do that or do whatever, and we can't pay our property taxes. What if they start cutting the budget without knowing what we know about the operation of the town? And it just seems to me that it makes sense for us to look at what we can do, because from my point of view, we work with a budget. Obviously, Matt, you and Cheryl work with it every day. We work with it during budget period, and when we look at the town warrants and people, the police department wants a new car or whatever. So we're infinitely more familiar with the budget and what needs to be funded and how things can move around, monies can move around, than the people that are going to come to town meeting. So I just think that however it's possible that we take a look at the budget and see, I went back and I looked at the budget, and we're putting $100,000 into the capital fund for something. Do we really need $100,000, or could we for this year only manage with $50,000? So kind of look at some of those things that we could at least make an effort, that we recognize we're all in this together. Because again, if we leave it to the people that come to the town meeting, it's anybody's guess what they may say. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I've talked to a couple of the other selectmen, not to all. I've gotten some emails. But I think that the people that deal with it all the time are in a better position to look at it and say, this is what we think, rather than just going to a town meeting and letting the people look at a line item. And as you say, we're just voting on the line items and paring it down this year because of the virus. That's my concern.
And Robin, I spoke with Matt Murphy today, and he did say our property tax valuation amount is going up a minimum of $1 million. So they're in the middle of still checking out old building permits and adjusting that. I did run just the 2 revenue numbers for excise and for real estate taxes. And for the month of March, we were up. We took in $51,000 more this year than we did last year for tax revenue. In April, we went down significantly. We went down 300,000. But with that in mind, everybody knows that their April bill wasn't due until May. So right. May, we took in $100,000 on Wednesday, or what day is today? Monday. And then we took $35,000 in yesterday and today. So the revenue is still coming in. People knew that they had that cushion for real estate taxes, so they were going to hold on to it, but they were comfortable bringing in their tax payment. And I expect the excise revenue to come back in the minute we start opening up. People have been calling and they've got a lot of new cars. That's going to bring in a lot higher revenue. But I think you'll see those numbers jump back up quite a bit. I know moving forward, it's scary and it's unknown. We have no idea, but I think just taking it all the possibilities. I mean, plan for it, but maybe not make cuts because those possibilities may never become reality.
But once you get your taxes out there, you can't change them. You know, once the tax bills are sent, there's nothing you can do. And I don't know. I'd like to hear some thoughts from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, go ahead, Lou.
I think it's too early to take and make any big decisions. We do not know what's going to happen on the state or the federal level. We have to see what is going to happen before we do big changes. Yes, we might be forced into cutting back on the budget, but I don't think this is the time to do it. I think we're premature.
Yeah. I think a good point to make too is due to this and looking at the budget and hearing with the assessment, we've got to remember the town of Damascotta has a pretty responsible budget. You know, there's not a lot of surplus spending, and I think it'd be important to convey that, as you, a good point, Robin, people coming in going, hey, we got to cut, you know, let's vote some certain way. I think a good point to be made from the town of select board would be that this is a pared down budget. This is an operating cost and it's responsible. You know, there's certain operating costs that have to be covered and you know, services. So, but I think hearing from the board of the town, the citizens, that the town of Damascotta is fiscally responsible. That might be an important thing to say. You know, yeah, things are going to happen. We don't know, but at this point, you know, the town has been very good with the budget and attention to where expenses go, and that might be an important thing to convey.
Mark?
And our expenses are down slightly because we've been on the office on such a scale back. We've got a slight savings in expenses that we'll be able at the end of the year, and especially if we start tightening our belt right now, we'll be able to roll over a lot more money because we're not spending it here. Whoops, sorry, my husband's getting home, so you're about to go crazy.
I guess from my standpoint is, you know, I think I'd like to see the budget proceed, you know, what we've voted on and presented to the town. And then we just go into Operation Frugal mode, where we just conserve and tighten our belts. And if something's not essential, we don't purchase, and we watch everything. And we do have a capital improvement program that's been kind of helping us out over the years. And once we go behind on that, you know, we'll never catch up. But I mean, we may get work when we do paving or the firehouse paving or some other work throughout the town. We might get a better rate because people want to work.
Well, let me ask you a question though. The question I have is, I agree that our budget is a good one. You know, I think every year we use sharp pencils to get the budget that we need and try to keep the taxes down for the citizens. My question is, though, we operate on what we think the state is going to do with revenue sharing and so on and so forth. We include that in our budget.
Have to.
If the revenue's not coming in, and it isn't, and it's anticipated that it won't be coming in because, you know, essentially the state will be closed to tourists unless they self-quarantine for 14 days through August. The revenue's not coming in, so our revenue, the percentage that we're going to get for revenue sharing is going to be less. And so that's going to be incumbent upon us then to make adjustments. You know, we're assuming that the revenue sharing is going to be a certain percentage. We're assuming that the homestead is going to be a certain percentage, then it's not going to be clawed back. But if they start clawing that back, then we don't get it, then what? And that's my concern. If we have 75 days worth of rainy day fund, we're going to be okay for a while. But what happens if we close down again next October or next November because this comes back again? Then what? So those are my concerns. It's not the short term, do we have a good budget or do we not have a good budget? But what's happening in the totality? And, you know, I heard, you know, that the federal government's going to come in and bail us out, but, you know, I'll believe it when I see, you know, I'm not as optimistic as everybody else, I guess. I don't know.
But Robin, I keep hearing you say we need to revisit the budget, but I haven't heard any ideas from you where you want to revisit the budget.
Well, the one thing I said is maybe the capital budget, that one thing that's $100,000, we take it back to 50,000. One thing is that we freeze all salaries for a year. So those are a couple things. If I had my email, I had a few other things that were listed. But it's not for me to say, it's for all of us to come together and say, I would not say that we get rid of a staff person. I think we're bare bones with staffing now. We could cut back on how much we give, I hate to say it, the library. You know, they've been closed, so they've been saving a lot of money this recently too. So maybe we take a percentage of whatever it is and take that back. And you know, it's a little bit here, a little bit there. I said we get rid of our stipends, $5,000. That's not a lot, but you know, we're all in this together. People are not working, so I could, you know, I can afford not to get $1,500 or whatever it is. So, you know, you have to look at every line item and say, we could do this, or could you do this, you know, in the capital reserves or whatever. Do we need the capital reserves if, as you say, Josh, that probably we could get a better deal on our paving because people are looking for work? Well, if we could get a better deal on our paving because people are looking for work, maybe we don't need $100,000 this year. Maybe we only need $60,000. So you have to look at all of that together. You can't just look at one thing. You have to take it in the totality. And like I say, it's for me, it's a long-term thing. We're looking at excise taxes coming in now, but what excise tax is going to be coming in July and August and September of next year if this thing keeps going? If you're unemployed between the middle of March and August, are you going to be buying a new car in, you know, September? Are you going to be buying a new boat this summer, a new camper? You know, probably not. You know, it's so those are my thoughts. And I don't know, and I talked to Matt, I don't know the process, either the state process or the charter process, to know what we can do and what the timeframes are. And if at this point, because, you know, it's already in the warrant, can we do anything? But those are my questions.
Yes, you can change the warrant for those items that are on the open town meeting. As long as they're not ordinances, we have a lot more flexibility there. I mean,
don't you have to have a hearing?
Only on those items that require a hearing. So we've had hearings for ordinances and such, but we could change it within 10 days. And okay. I know, Cheryl, that's been done in the past, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. Where the warrant has been changed. I don't think that's happened since I've been here, but I know there's been some last minute changes to the warrant.
But I was just concerned, and I have to say, I remember when I first moved up here, Waldeboro presented their budget, and it was voted down at a town meeting. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. And it was kind of a big brouhaha at the time, and it's like, oh boy, then you're back to the drawing board, and you know it's almost at that point it's an adversarial activity. If the town votes it down when the selectmen and the budget committee don't vote it down, then you're in an adversarial position.
Yeah, may I?
Have to be that way.
May I make a comment?
Okay.
What I hear is that you need to tell the story about what you're going through and what you're worried about in a way in which you begin to prepare the people of the town for the uncertainty that you see is already there. And I don't know how to do that. Maybe you have conversations with Evan and he does a special article on the uncertainties of the budget going forward. I don't know what the best PR approach is, but I think you need to tell the story. And you tell it in a way in which you prepare people for make them be aware of the uncertainty we're living into.
Well, yeah, but for me, Huss, it's more than just the story. I just want to make sure that we're responsible in these uncertain times, that we don't blow through our rainy day fund when we may need it again next year. You know, every
I'm
year,
totally with you.
you know,
I
so
just,
that's-
I want what you're doing, though, people to be prepared for it and be sympathetic to it rather than thinking you're not doing enough or whatever.
Robin, do you see Mark has his hand up?
okay, Mark?
Yeah, you know, my main concern is, if you look at the commission that got put together looking at the gas tax, and that committee there, and they're struggling with how to find the revenue to even go ahead and pay for some of the roads and stuff that they're doing because of the gas tax. We're using less fuel. So if you're looking at it, they're going to be looking at tapping into our excise tax, because the excise tax is related to vehicles. And I really see that be something that they're going to come after. And that's an unfortunate when we have approximately, I don't know, 450,000 or something like that, that we have.
We have,
What's the number, Matt?
it's budgeted, well, tentatively in the budget's 516,000. This year we have 476,000, but we're, you know, well ahead of that for 2020.
I just see administration up there into a hot spot of $1.2 billion projected of revenue shortfall. And if they don't get any help at all from Washington, they're going to be cutting back everywhere possible. So I really do see that to be an area that they're going to come after. We do pay a lot in the county tax, there's no doubt about that. You know, if you look at your percentages of your tax bill, your school is 60-something%, the town office area is 20-something%, and then the other is your county tax. So yes, you do have a revenue sharing of $100,000. The question would be is if you took the, not revenue share, I'm sorry, capital reserve account of $100,000, you're saying, is it possible to put that into an account so that a year from now, if we needed to pull those funds out to use them to help us in the situation we're in? We don't want to lose staff. We're just trying to keep going. Is it possible to designate that, or do we put it in capital reserve? Can we reach in and pull it out of capital reserve to offset taxes? I guess that would be a question.
Well, a couple of things you want me to respond, or I can?
Yeah.
Or,
Again, we are trying to make decisions based on ifs. If we don't get the money, if we get too much money, we can go around in circles and circles. We have to wait until we get some good information to make a decision. We don't have it now.
That's why I asked Matt what the deadline is for us to make a decision.
And Robin, I can email MMA Legal to find out what the deadline is. And if we have to trim the budget, do we need to call the budget committee back and have them vote on it, then have meetings for you guys to vote on it, and what that process is? I can find out what the time frame to change that, and if we can do it and just have a joint meeting, what we would need to do. So I'll send legal a message tomorrow.
That would be helpful. It would make me feel better.
Yeah.
I just, like I say, there are folks that are unemployed, and anything that we can do, you know, to help the residents in our town, the property owners in our town, the residents in our town, not break the bank with their property taxes next year.
Mark brought up,
Trying to do. That's what I'm trying
brought up a good point. We can't do anything about the school budget, and that's the biggest part of our budget.
Right.
So we can't do anything about that. We have to see what's going to transpire there.
Well, it's my understanding that they're looking at, you know, reducing their budget because they haven't had expenses now. You know, the school's been closed, so there's some expenses that they aren't expending that they can roll over to next year. So we'll see.
I think,
Thankfully, they did find that $59,000 error that we have extra, which is helpful.
I do think this has been a good discussion, but I think it's time to move on.
Okay, all right. Another day. Anything else on the virus related as far as the town goes?
Well, I guess I need some direction from the board on what you'd like us to do next with regard to the budget. But Cheryl can check on the dates.
Yeah,
But if you'd like to have a work session, we could do that, or, you know, I guess just let me know what you'd like the staff to do. at this
okay.
point.
Let's see
Other
what
than, you know, the
Cheryl
bill.
finds out.
Yeah.
I'll email him tomorrow.
And there may
I'd
be
like to
some
proceed
direction
with the
from the
current
state.
budget. I'd like to proceed with the current budget as presented.
Okay.
And let the townspeople decide. You know, we'll have more information. We present what we feel is the proper budget, and let the townspeople help us make the decision. And we can talk it out at the open town meeting. That's why we have those meetings. And we've done a good job. I think we've done the best we can. And with the unknowns and uncertainties that are coming, and we can all work together as townspeople to make this budget, not just the five of us. So I just think, I think we just move on from this, and we might have more information in the next month. We might have more information in 2 months. Who knows? But I think we just keep going and move on to other things.
I agree.
I'll agree with what Josh is saying, but I also want to look at being realistic too. It's down the road that I'm worried about. I don't worry about where we're at right now. It's looking at your excise tax. People aren't going to buy new vehicles and stuff. They're going to make them last. So that number will go down. And then if you have Governor Mills tapping into that money, that's what I really worry about. When we're losing our revenue sharing and stuff. That's when they take that, that's when we're going to really feel it.
Okay, well, let's just wait to hear from Cheryl and what they say, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay.
Discussion.
And then, yeah, then I'll move on there. One more item having to do with the town meeting is currently, if you look at this stage 2 of the governor's plan, we're limited to 50 people. So that may address itself because we don't have anything controversial on the warrant, but still that's a concern. We're just going to have to wait and see if MMA is able to get the governor to give us a little more latitude on that particular one. So okay, so we'll move off of COVID-19.
Yep.
Bristol Road Sidewalk project. My estimate is we're over halfway there. Citizens, I think obviously there's some inconvenience there, not as much as there would be if there weren't the stay-at-home orders in effect. But it is coming along. There's the headaches you get with every big project, and we're working through those, working with the contractor, working with the citizens. But I would say overall, it's going pretty well. The product is good. On the Waterfront Project, we've been spending quite a bit of time on that. Bob and George, for the most part, with a little assistance from me, have been putting together an RFP for engineering services for the parking lot reconstruction to incorporate the flood resiliency measures. We had a meeting of the Waterfront Committee last week via Zoom and got some good feedback from that group. Jan Wegman at Wright Pierce is finalizing the restroom RFP and the sanitary sewer line RFP to incorporate some of the changes we've made since this was last looked at, as well as incorporating the EDA work. And So I have a meeting tomorrow with our EDA contact to talk about rearranging some things in the budget to meet their criteria, but I think that's going well. Jenny Villeneuve is working on the easements and the right-of-way acquisition that we need, and that's about it at this point. So we're working very hard on that, and again, I'm trying to get the 2 RFPs done as soon as possible for the sanitary sewer lines and the restroom. We want to show people that they're getting some money or getting some results for the money that we've got available. And we want to show EDA how serious we are about this project at the same time. And I think it was mentioned earlier, there are potentially some benefits in going out to bid now from a capital standpoint. We've heard from 2 contractors on the restroom side saying they've got some gaps in their workload, and they're looking forward to seeing our RFP. So it looks promising from that end. If there are no questions on that, I'm going to move on to LED streetlight conversion. This is looks like I spelled municipal wrong on the agenda, but that's been a time-consuming process. We've had a number of meetings among the group. We've had interviews with the two firms, and we've checked a number of references. We split up the towns among the work group that we have, the review group, and we've checked references for both. I'd say overall, when the references are taken into account, that's pretty much of a wash. There's towns that rave about both of the firms. Looking at the pricing and taking into account a variety of other factors, the recommendation of at least the Newcastle town manager, the Bristol town administrator, and myself is to go with real term. We're not at a position yet where we have a contract, but I'd just like to ask the board if you'd like us to provide additional information on what we've learned to date, and or whether you'd like us to go ahead and ask real term to prepare a contract. There's going to be a process, a public process that we need to go through. I've gotten some emails to this effect that people are concerned about LED lighting and how bright it is and such. And the response there is it's not what it was just 5 or 6 years ago. A lot of people won't even know the difference. I think most people won't even know the difference between the old lights that we have now and LED lighting. There's so many options that can be tailored to different areas of town. So, and the savings is significant. I shared with you the cost of a system with smart controls, and when I talk to some of the other towns, those that have them and those that don't, I think it's a good idea to have those smart controls. One of the managers in a town far away told me confidentially he's turned down the power 50% and nobody's noticed. So there's a way to save money when you have those controls in place. And then I think having the flexibility, I can be at the fireworks, and as soon as the first set of fireworks go off from my iPhone, I'd be able to shut off the lights in the parking lot. And then as soon as the fireworks stop and you have that last, barrage of fireworks and the last boom, I can flip the lights back on and everyone can get safely to their cars. So I think that's going to be a really cool feature. And in addition to being able to monitor which lights are on and off, and being able to adjust lights to meet the particular neighborhood's needs. So, Yeah, do you have any preference? I mean, I think we still have plenty of time. As I said in an earlier presentation, we can do this without a budget impact by doing a lease purchase arrangement. And that would allow us to keep the current budget or even a lower budget if we wanted to extend the time for paying for a system out. So we do have time to do some additional work on this, or if the board wants more detail, we can certainly work with you on that.
Anybody need more detail?
I'm comfortable with what they're doing.
Good.
I am.
You
I'm
want to take the next steps and get the contract drawn up?
I make a motion that we take the next step and get the contracts drawn up.
With real term?
Real quick. Yes, from what
I'll
I.
second.
I'll second. Any other discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, terrific.
And then, I just sent this out. I've received it minutes before the meeting. It's an additional item under town manager notes. In fact, I probably left it at the copy machine. Oh, no, here it is. This is a change order for the Miles Street project that I'd like you to consider, because again, I'd like us to move ahead swiftly on an RFP. I had asked Andrew Hedrick at Gartley and Dorsey to give me a revised RFP for a revised scope of services for an RFP to include the alternate for an elevation gain. You know, we had the 10 feet low elevation with the plans that they had done previously. You know, on looking at that, yes, he's correct that 10 feet is the highest annual tide and the 100-year tide. But you know, just looking at what we're doing in the parking lot and the plans that we're taking, you know, into account, I should say the predictions that are being taken into account now with climate change, I think the 10 feet is too low, and we at least got to have a cost to bring that low point up to 12 feet. And again, even if the tide only ever went up to 10 feet, would you really want people going over to the hospital and looking at road level at the water height? I don't think that would give folks a lot of comfort level. So I think we want to be at least 2 feet higher than that level that we had had them work on before. So what they have proposed is a change order. It's called change order number 1. And would you like me to read this letter, or at least the salient parts of it, to you, since you might?
Did everybody get it and read it?
I don't
I
think
just
you did.
read it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. The bottom line on this is that they're asking for an additional $8,842 to $11,542, depending on what actually transpires through the work. So that would bring the total contract price with the change order up to $28,642 to $36,342, somewhere in that range, you know, depending on the workload as they get into it.
Now, Matt, is that the total, or is that Damascotta's portion?
That is the total. And
Okay, so Damascotta's portion, the maximum would be about $5,780.
that's right. Our total, when split with Lincoln Health, will be half that.
Is Lincoln Health aware of this?
They're aware that I asked for it, and
Yeah.
and their response was, of course, it's difficult to get their attention,
I know.
but they said they're going to defer to the town, because
Which
we
means
know.
that if we say it's okay, they'll pay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
But you'd still be getting an alternate price when they bid on it, right?
That's right. So it would still be, that additional elevation of 2 feet would be an alternate. The base price will be at the 10 feet level, 10
Right.
foot level.
somebody, are you gonna
buzzing.
blow up? Is there somebody gonna blow up?
I think someone's got a countdown going.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, do we need a motion to accept this letter change order, Matt?
Yes, please.
Okay, and we have money in the budget for this year to make the change?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay, in that case, I'll make a motion that we accept change order number 1 to the Miles Street Road improvements.
I make a motion.
I made the motion. You have to second it.
I'll second it. Sorry.
That's okay. Discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Drinking water, not wine.
Oh, sure. Okay, official action items, the annual town meeting warrant.
Okay, you know, you, as we talked about earlier, and Cheryl's going to get the legal opinion on this, you will have some flexibility to change the items that are not on this, the closed ballot, the secret ballot. So, but I do want to mention 2 changes that are recent. Dana Ornstein has indicated that she doesn't want to be elected to another term on the budget committee. And so there's that change. And then this doesn't change the substantive part of it, but since I just got the audit this week, I didn't have the exact numbers for the projected balance on the capital reserve accounts. So I need to go back and change those, but it doesn't change what the budget committee and the Board of Selectmen have already approved, as revised the other day, on the recommended 2021 budget. So we're still looking at the 426,000. And yeah, I just need to change some of the projected balances based on the audit.
Okay, then I make a motion to accept the warrant for fiscal year 2021 as revised with Matt's new numbers and deleting Dana Ornstein from the budget committee.
I will second.
All in favor?
Thank you. And the next item, I hate having to take these relatively minor expenses back to you, but based on a previous auditor's opinion, anytime we tap the contingency account, the Board of Selectmen need to approve it. We had a repair that we needed to make. This was late March to the Biskie Road and Main Street traffic signal. We've exhausted the funds in that particular line item, so I need your approval to transfer $1,237 from contingency account to pay for that. And there's plenty of money left in the contingency account at this point.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion, we transfer the funds from the contingency funds.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Thank you. And then the final item I had to do with the contract for EDA.
Get the number on that?
Pardon? Linda, did you have a question?
I didn't get the amount on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. How much was the amount that was transferred?
$1,237.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. The next item has to do with a recommended contract for Mid-Coast Economic Development District to assist the town with the administrative services involved in the EDA grant application. The request is for $8,750. EDA will not pay for that. They won't pay for any of our administrative costs, including Cheryl's and my time, Bob Fonce's planning time. However, we were farsighted enough to set aside some dollars that were not part of the local match, and we would tap into those for this $8,750 expense. So
I have two questions on the contract, Matt. The first one is you have quarterly reporting. Is quarterly reporting enough to uncover problems or bring up potential areas of concern, or should it be more often?
the quarterly reporting is required by EDA. So
Okay.
That's in tune with what their requirements are.
Okay.
You know, Cheryl and I are going to be keeping tabs on the
Okay.
the project as we go.
Okay.
Anyway,
The second question I have on page 1 is item number 4, the staff assignment that MCEDD will assign one or more members. Can we add with, MCEDD shall with the Damerscott town manager, or, with the consent of the town manager or something to make, so you're involved with that decision of who they're going to pick.
yes. Yes, we can do that. I'm sure they won't have a problem with it. Right now, there's 2 staff. They're full-time. You've met both of them, Max and Bill.
Okay. All right. I just, just so
No,
we know
that's-
who they are and you feel comfortable working with them and what have you. That's the only thing I had. I guess we need a motion for this, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve an administrative services contract with the Midcoast Economic Development District for grant reporting and other services related to the administration of the town's Economic Development Administration Waterfront Improvement Grant.
I will second.
And I should say as amended, how's that?
Mhm.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay, and wasn't there another one, Matt, that's not on the agenda?
No, I added Miles Street, but I did that under the town manager items.
Okay. How about an agreement with George Parker for services, a contract with George Parker for his services?
I don't, George has not provided that. That's a good point. Yeah, I did mention that in the town manager notes. I would like to have a contract with George, but he has not provided me with a draft yet.
Okay, and that'll come out of this year's money, not next year's?
That'll come out of a capital budget item. Yeah, so it's not limited by year.
Okay. All right. Selectmen discussion items. I'm going to go around the pictures here. Lou, I'll start with you.
How has Worthy Poor Fund been doing? Has much happened?
No. The last I heard from Cheryl on this, I should have asked her for an update today, but we had 2 people
2?
take advantage.
Yeah.
We have enough cards for 50. We've had 2 people take advantage of it. We're thinking that as we get the word out more on Facebook and we ask people to tell their neighbors, and as people are nearing the end of the unemployment compensation and the additional $600 per week, and using up that stimulus money, I'm thinking we're going to get more interest. But at this point, it's a little bit of a surprise that it's not been more.
Maybe Evan can put a plug in an article saying that that money is still available for people that would, that need it.
The other question I have, will we experience any problems with the intern?
And as far as funding the
No,
person?
as far as.
No, I've had discussions with him and on via email. He's really excited about being here. He lives up, gosh, I know he goes to school in Brunswick, but I think he lives in Lewiston, and he was trying to find a place to stay, and he's located a place to live for the summer, so he doesn't have to drive all that way. So he's pretty excited about being here, and he's looking forward to being assigned projects. And I've got a long list for him. The official start date for the interns in the whole program is May 26th, but we're just going to need to work and see if that works. I'm thinking that I can start him off by having him work on some projects remotely.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Pretty exciting.
Okay, Daryl.
Yes. So I've had some thoughts as I sit downtown in the more or less vacant downtown, which I thought I'd never see. And I think something that might be important to maybe come from the board or from the town is where we stand in support of our local businesses. You know, we talk a lot, we see a lot of people that are currently on unemployment, out of work. I think it might be important for citizens and the businesses that are in this town to know that we're in support of them. You know, we know, you know, obviously the extension with its limitations, well needed, but at the same time, it's created a lot of long-term issues. And I think it might be important for us to recognize that we support our local businesses. One point of that would be that what I see on a day-to-day basis is I see, you know, with exceptions, but I see a general responsibility. You know, we do see folks without masks and things happen, but the majority of the day-to-day interactions that I witness are by responsible people and responsible businesses. So I think it, coming from the board, you know, say, hey, you know, we support our business. We know that they can, when the time comes, whether they change things in a week or so, whether the governor relaxes things or not. I think it's important to know that we trust that our local businesses can open and can and will be responsible. They want to be, you know, they want to be open again. They want to put staff back to work, but they also want to do it responsibly, and I know they can. Just observations I have throughout the day, you know. But it might be an important thing to, you know, from the board to hear that, you know, we understand the plight, and you know, you don't want to see people out of work, and you want to see people back responsibly, and we know it can. The support is there. We know we can do it. My 2 cents anyway.
You know, I want to jump in here because I sent Matt an email earlier today. I think it was, Matt, wasn't it? I saw an article in the Bangor paper that Rockland is working with the Department of Transportation to close their main street on the weekends and open it up as a pedestrian mall and a business center. So the businesses can move their goods and services out on the street, so there's more social distancing and what have you. And
Yeah.
I said, Matt, could we do something similar? Maybe not close the street because we don't have good detours for the village, but maybe to close the sidewalks like we do at Pumpkin Fest and, you know, put up barriers, not the sidewalks, I'm sorry, the on-street parking, put up barriers like we do at Pumpkin Fest and let the businesses have stalls or tables on the sidewalks, and then the parking spaces would become essentially the sidewalk. So to bring more people downtown in June, you know, when we have that next phase of opening the state, to get people downtown again and give the businesses an opportunity. If you have a small shop and you can only let 5 people in at a time, is different than if you have some goods and services outside, you know, that would attract people. And they do that at Pumpkin Fest. You know, they'll have tables set up or baskets with things in it that you could buy, you know, on the street rather than going in the business. So that might be one way that we show support. And like I said, I just saw the article in today's Bangor News, and it just started me thinking, what could we do to help our businesses out? So something to think about. But we do support them. Josh, anything?
Oh, I always have something.
Good.
I just want to, you know, watching my kids do the online learning through Great Salt Bay School and Lincoln Academy. Just the teachers have stepped up, and just this past couple weeks, they've really gotten the groove, and things have really taken off on this online, on the whole service itself. They've put a lot of time into it, effort. It's pretty amazing how this is transformed within this time frame, and I'm just impressed with how they've reacted and adapted, and trying to reach all the kids every day and have Zoom meetings for second graders and, you know, fifth graders, and I mean, all the way up through is just amazing to watch. So I just want to say, you know, I appreciate all the time and effort that the teachers and the staff at both Lincoln and Great Salt Bay have done. And it's just, I'm just floored. It's just been amazing the past 2 weeks just to see how it's progressed. So
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you.
Well, it is Teacher Appreciation Week, so a good message for our teachers.
There's an awful lot of dedication there. You know, it's amazing because nobody has walked away and said, can't do this, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Standing ovation.
Yeah. And I just want to also our staff, under the circumstances that the cards that they've been dealt, you know, between the police department, fire department, town staff, office staff, Stanley, and, you know, Matt Murphy and Bob Fonts and Matt. I mean, there's a lot of coordination that's been going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing. And I do see through that murky little smoke screen that's up there and see what every coordination everybody's been trying to do. And thank you for all the time and effort that everybody's been putting in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is amazing how everybody's working so hard at long distances, you know, so. Okay. Mark?
Yeah, I'd just like to, you know, jump onto what Josh said, because like it was brought up that here we are building a plane and they're learning how to fly at the same time. So, you know, they have done a great job there. And then also to Daryl's point, it's a great idea. We should be really reaching out to those businesses and let them know that, you know, even though it's hard times right now, we're here with you, and whatever we can do to help them is, since we're the service center of Lincoln County, we want to let them know we're here for them. That's all I have.
Okay. Just so you all know, if you are on Facebook, there is a Damascotta Heart and Soul Facebook page, and it usually concerns community engagement, you know, how to get involved with whatever is going on in the community. But we've kind of moved it over now to support the businesses. Everything that we can find that's going on with a Damascotta business is posted every day. We follow all the businesses. We post the daily specials at all the restaurants that have daily specials. Anything, you know, we posted Mother's Day gifts from the different businesses downtown, you know, go on their website, pick out a gift, and it's cash and carry, whatever, so you don't have to go in the store. So we are trying to support the businesses on that Heart and Soul Facebook page just by letting people know what's open and how they can conduct business at long distance.
Yeah.
And if you have anything to add to it, go right ahead, contribute whatever you'd like to it. It really is, we're trying to make it a daily update for people so they know what's going on. So
I will say, we took and got a special meal from King Ida's for our anniversary.
oh,
And
good.
it was excellent, and it worked very smoothly.
Wonderful. Did you have it delivered?
No, we picked it up.
Okay. Just so you know, Kobe and Gail and Newcastle Jeep Chrysler Dodge are delivering meals for King Ider's Pub. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, but a lot of the restaurants are open.
The amount of adaptation has been impressive.
Yep.
Almost all the restaurants in town are open for carryout, which is nice. Means I get to cook less. Okay, well, I echo everybody's sentiments about the businesses, the teachers, the staff. Everybody is just doing, yeoman's job as we kind of navigate through this storm. So if there's nothing else for the good of the order, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Sorry.
I was just going to ask for clarification, not to go back to the budget, but I was a little lost in translation on, are we waiting for a workshop or were we moving ahead with the budget? I was.
Right now, we're keeping the budget as it is. Cheryl's just going to find out kind of dates and timelines and deadlines if we did want to make a change.
Okay.
We're waiting to hear anything that comes down from the state or the feds, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, is that right, Matt?
Yes, and then, I'm going to be instructing the staff that it's time to tighten our belts wherever we can.
Okay. Okay. Now, Lou had earlier made a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Good night, all.
Good night. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.